Okay, so what we just figured out, by the way, the code word for today's lesson is party hat. What we figured out in our lesson today is this is pi RL for the lateral area. And by the way, that stands for pi times radius times slant height is what we use to represent, L is the letter we use to represent slant height. I think S is a lot of times used to represent side, so that's radius, okay? And then for the total surface area, including the base, right, then we just do pi r times L plus the base, which is pi r squared. Right, so that's pi times, just going to write this out in words. You don't have to, but I just want you to remember what all these things stand for. Slant height plus pi times radius squared. All right, so let's, at the top of the next page, let's try our first problem. So find the surface area of each cone, round to the nearest tenth. So we're finding surface area, so we're going to use that whole formula. Pi r L, that's supposed to be an r, times pi, no, plus, must have been pi r squared, because we're adding the area of the base. So this is the area of the cone without a base, and then this is the circle base on the bottom, right? So our radius, it appears, is 3. And so this is going to be pi times 3. But here's the thing, we know our actual height, we don't know our slant height. So I hope you're thinking about a strategy we know to find that slant height, and that would be to do the good old Pythagorean theorem. It's a right triangle right here. So you're doing a squared plus b squared equals c squared, so that's 3 squared plus 4 squared equals L squared. So that comes out to be 25. And then to get L by itself, we have to take the square root of both sides. And so L comes out to be 5. And maybe you knew that already. Maybe you knew that this was a 3, 4, 5 triple. Okay, then plus pi times 3 squared. And since we're going to the nearest tenth, you're going to put that in your calculator. Pi times 15 plus pi times 9 comes out to 75.398, which will round to 75.4 centimeters squared. Okay, the only thing more exciting over here on part B is that on this one it does appear that they give us the slant height, good for us, is 26 for our L, but they give us the whole diameter instead of just the radius. That 20 goes all the way across the circle, so we know our radius is 10. So why don't you try this on your own, pause the video, and then come back and we'll take a look at it. Okay, so you said pi times 10 times 26 plus pi times 10 squared, and you put that all in your calculator, and it came out to be 1130.97. So to the nearest tenth, we would go ahead and round that up to 1131 millimeters squared, because area is always squared. All right, so now we practice that with actual cones. Let's look at a word problem. For this one, for the exercises below, round to the nearest tenth. Find the surface area of a cone if the height is 10 meters and the slant height is 14. So I like to draw my picture. So there's my cone. This is regular height is 10, so that would be going up the middle. And slant height is 14. And we're supposed to find the surface area. So let's write down that formula again. Pi times radius times slant height plus pi times radius squared. So we're going to do pi times, we don't know our radius. So what you have to do is you have to draw in your own radius. And rather than just draw it anywhere, let's conveniently draw it at the bottom of this right rectangle, because then look at what we've got. right triangle. Now we can do the Pythagorean theorem to find r, this distance. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. 10 squared plus r squared. Now make sure you're putting 14 in the C spot, the hypotenuse. The side across from the box always goes in the C spot. So that's 196. So then we subtract 100 from both sides, and we get r squared to be 96. And you know what? Normally we would take the square root of both sides. I am going to take the square root of both sides, but I'm going to leave my r as square root 96, and I'm going to show you why in just a second. So this is going to be square root 96 times the slant height, which we now know to be 14. That was given to us, right? Slant height is 14, plus pi times, again, square root 96. But look, it's square root 96 squared. So what do you think happens with that square root and that square? They cancel out, don't they? So we have pi times square root 96 times 14 plus pi times 96. We're going to put this all in our calculator, and that comes out to be 346.37. So we'll go ahead and round that up to 4 meters squared. All right, so let's look at one more. Find the radius of a cone given the surface area and slant height. And you know what? Actually, this video is getting a little long, so I think I'm going to pause this one and I'll see you in the next video.